we're live.
Yes, we are live.
Strange.
Oh, it looks like we even already got somebody here.
This is strange.
Why?
It just is.
Oh, well. Hi.
Hello, Larissa. So this is our first pillow talk, and we're just gonna answer any questions that you might have, or we'll talk about. Oh, there's two people here. It looks like. Oh, that would be us and her.
Oh,
Oh, I don't know.
no, there's two. That would
I
be
don't know.
the person who just clicked on a link because you can only see it in Patreon. You can't get access to this without Patreon. Getting messages left and right. So you guys are the lucky ones. So
Yeah.
ask away.
Yeah. Here before we go to bed, we're going to be on about 30 minutes, and then we're going to go to sleep. And we're just kind of already chilling, and we're comfortable. And we do not have a TV in our room, which is some people think is odd. We do not have a TV in our room. On purpose, we don't have a TV.
Yeah, it literally is our safe haven. I mean, from all technology, really. Having a TV in your bedroom kind of really. I mean, I grew up never having a TV in my bedroom. So,
Right.
but even when I just never really believed in having a TV there because it really distracts you and keeps you. Where do you find your peace if you've got a TV in your room? So,
Right. And it's a distraction. I think it really messes with your sleep.
absolutely,
right?
absolutely. Well, we had a good time on the live tonight, and we had a session we had to get to, but man, there were some pretty deep questions.
There were some deep questions. Yeah.
Like in the group tonight, there was a really deep question.
Okay.
It said, I thought only 10% of the people on the planet get are twin flames. I was like, what?
10%.
Who funnels out that information?
Gotcha.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, question.
Oh, yay.
Hi.
We are
So
chilling.
I've been really shy to ask my twin about his past and tell him about my past since I'm survivor and I'm worried he'll think less of me if I admit it. Any tips for telling him in a safe way? You got something for that?
I do.
Okay.
Every relationship that I have come across while I was in victimship and survivorship, there's a big transition there. But what is going on with the light?
It's trying to adjust because these lights here are like LED.
Okay. But I made it a point to, in the dating process, at least try to. I don't want to say before we got sexually active. During that time when we were becoming sexually active with one another, that I felt the need to say, hey, I've been through a lot, just in talking and dating. I've been through a lot, and I was sexually assaulted from this age to this age. And usually in the conversations of what was your childhood like, those type of things, when you're trying to get to know one another. So I never wanted to keep it from anybody because I needed anybody that I was going to be intimate with to know that there are some issues there. And it's not them, it's me. And there's just some things that they're going to have to work around. And it never has been an issue. When I told you, was it an issue?
No.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever really been an issue.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of what happened to me, obviously, but I'm proud of surviving it, right? Because lots of people cannot survive things like that, and they're so traumatized, and a lot of people take their own lives or end up taking somebody else's life and end up dying in prison. But I was never ashamed, I guess. When I was smaller, when I was little, yeah, I was ashamed because that shame was bestowed upon me. But as I got older and realized that I needed to come out of victimhood and into survivorship, I never tried not to ever use it as a crutch, and tried not to ever use it as any type of manipulation, or because it can fall in that category. It's really odd, how it can fall into that category. But I made sure that the person I was with always knew up front.
Would you say that you found greater power in no longer judging yourself over what happened to you?
For sure.
And did it give me permission not to judge it too?
For sure. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
if you read the question, she, thinking less of me is literally her still connecting to the past and thinking less of herself.
Right.
And she will need her twin to verify that and validate that if that's the approach she comes from.
Okay.
But if she chooses that approach and she realizes that judging herself over something that no longer exists, the past exists and much more in the story and who you were in the story,
Right.
but that's not who you are sitting when you're telling them that story.
True. Right.
And what happens is if she still has so much residue from it and she still judges it, she's going to be needing her twin to validate the judgment she's doing.
Exactly.
And literally that rips you apart rather
Yeah,
than bringing you
it
together.
does.
So I would suggest looking at it from the way Sherry's saying
Yeah.
it.
And no judgment of it, no shame in
Mm,
that.
yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
That's a big deal.
Let's see, that makes sense. My mom never told my dad about her childhood and vice versa. So I guess it's an awkward conversation for me. And I have lots of fears that he won't like me anymore. I guess I'm,
The one who has to break the cycle, though.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Sometimes you wonder, like, why am I the one that has to break the cycle? But I'm the one that wants to break the cycle. You know what I mean? There was man, my mother was sexually assaulted. Her mother was sexually assaulted. I mean, it just kept going, and it would have just kept going. And I just wanted to. I didn't want. Man, I wouldn't want anybody to go through that. That's a traumatization that nobody should have to endure. But I'm happy that I'm the one that is breaking the cycle with that. I don't want it to go further on. And what's most important to me is that I stand up and take a stand and acknowledge that it happened to me, and shout it from the rooftops in a book, in blogs, in video messages. So on down the line, way after I'm gone, somebody not only broke the cycle, but stood up and had a voice and said, hey, this isn't going to happen anymore. And generations after me will see that. And hopefully it won't repeat. It won't restart or recycle. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So glad to hear your story. Thank you. Yeah, my mom was too. She never told anyone until I asked her. Then she got mad at me for asking her. Thank you for being safe and calm about it. That's awesome. Makes sense. I guess then becomes this is a part of herself she never let anybody love. So her attacking you keeps that still going when you really can come from compassion and realize that her not ever exposing that or sharing that with anybody really made her run from herself and never run towards those she's connected to for safety or for reassurance or for any healing. So you opening that up, she's expecting you not to accept her or accept that this happened to her, that she didn't talk about it or even share it with her husband. What I guess is the biggest fear in this, that's a space she's never let anybody love her in. And that is still where her true power remains, in letting somebody love all of her completely. So if you look at it from that lens, you wouldn't take it that she's mad at you. You would take it that all of that anger of having to stuff such a thing and never being loved through it is where that's coming from. It's not about you. It's about a space in her that she's never let anybody love her. So I would say look at it from that lens and walk towards her than away from her. The goal is to run towards connection, never run away from it. Hello.
We have
Uh,
4 people in the room. This is my
yes,
night
yes, this
here.
is awesome. But who knows where the other one's going to be? They'll,
I keep moving this thing too, and going up, and then it gets caught up there, and I'm trying to hang on, trying to. There we go. Is that better? Nope.
is that better?
Yeah, that'll work.
That is helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've helped a lot of people who end up coming into this connection. They've been hurt by those for family, which is a connection, right? Let's not get it wrong. Family members that have hurt them, family members that have betrayed them, family members that have rejected them. And then they come into this connection and are looking for all of that. They're looking for ways to either be judged for it or the same thing repeating. All of these are different cycles, and they're cycles because of the cycle of thought. They're not cycles because they're real. What happened to you is real. I'm not trying to take anything away from that. But once you've been hurt by somebody you're connected to, you hear things such as only 10% of the people on the planet will receive this connection. Or it could be that only 10% are ready to heal from those that in connection.
Where did you see that at?
It was posted in our group. I was like, did somebody?
In our group?
Yeah. Somebody said, hey, but I get what you're saying, but only 10% of people in this connection are going to come together. And I'm like, huh? See, it's almost like somebody's daring them not to look
Only
inside.
1% is going to win the lottery, but they do it.
This is the chance for everybody to win the lottery.
Right.
I mean, we were born in under connection, but then we're taught disconnect. And then when we stumble across this, everything that we were taught comes into question. Instead of just listening to what we feel, we kind of try to navigate our way through what we thought. And it's just more of the same. You will look for somebody to tell you that only select people are going to get this.
Right.
Because only select people receive true love. Well, does that even make sense? That makes no sense at all. So maybe I should just admit it to my twin and just be like, yeah, that happened, but not expect him to do anything about it or love me any more or less than he would otherwise.
Here's what's catching me and my attention is telling him seemingly is it has a little fear in it, right? That's kind of what's resonating with me right now, is that there's some fear in that, which tells me that there's still some fear in you. It tells me that there's still a tad bit of judgment in you over it. If you approach it like, unfortunately, sexual abuse is a cancer. It's cancer. If you approach it as if you're a cancer survivor, you know what? I got this disease. I got this treatment, right? And it was shitty. Right? I got dealt a wrong hand, a bad hand. Big, fuck it, I'm strong. I'm strong as hell. I'm a survivor. I'm going to keep going, and it's not going to stop me. It may be a little bumps in the road, but nothing, you know what I mean? I'm pretty proud of me because I'm a survivor. And if you approach it with no shame, then there's no shame to be felt, if that makes sense. If you approach it with no fear, then there's no fear to be felt. He or she's not going to feel fear because there is none. I felt your fear when you were telling me, like, I don't want you to be, afraid to talk to me about things like that, right? It should just automatically be in healing and a positive thing. Obviously, the abuse is not a positive thing, but the survivorship is. And that's what you should be talking about, is the survivorship.
I believe that that's going to be very hard in this space, from the energy that we could feel coming from the way you're positioning You're coming from a position of, I need him to validate the self-judgment.
Mm-hmm.
I need him to validate that I was wrong. I need him to validate why I should be afraid of telling him.
Yeah.
Instead of being validated that you survived it, instead of being validated that you could be loved because it happened to you. That you have to give this to yourself before you even open up to share something like that. Because what you're looking for is them to come along and help the connection you have to yourself. But the way it's coming from you when you're saying it, it sounds like they have to accept these things and accept these things that happen to you in order for you to continue to judge yourself. And that's where it becomes a trap. If you're already saying, maybe I should just, admit it. Admit what? Admit that you were hurt. Admit that you were shamed. Admit that things happened to you. You literally want to say it as though that's a story about things that were. This is the story of who I am now, standing in front of you, loving myself through those things so you can love me too. It's a completely different offset. And there should be, the only thing you want to admit is the self-judgment you've had against yourself because of it. Because nobody wants to validate somebody's self-judgment. I think we look for ways, we tell a whole bunch of stuff just to get somebody to validate why we should still judge ourselves.
Gotta move up.
Without ever telling
Somebody.
ourselves why we're telling it the way we're telling it. So if you came differently and felt differently about what happened to you, would you be able to talk about it and have love on the inside of it, the outside of it, and all around it for yourself, not for the person you're connected to, and definitely not to make the other person feel like they still have your power. Because the way you're approaching it is you're giving your power away to the person that did this to you. And that's the last place you should be. What that does is disrupts your connection to yourself. And then it's going to disrupt your connection to the person you're connected to. You want to look for what's keeping you connected to yourself so they can connect to you, right? I mean, that's what ultimately makes more sense. It's like a child that ends up being adopted. They never get to connect to their true parents. They literally will run around looking for a substitute for connection, but never look directly for connection. And if they find it, they're going to tell themselves they don't deserve it or can't have it. And they're going to tell themselves a shit ton of a story, only to find out that they're wounded deeply. And they think that person is responsible for it instead of the wound that was there to begin with, and who sat down with them to ask them how they felt about it. A lot of those things are not permissions given. They're kind of a reason to stay disconnected because nobody sat down with you to say, hey, is this connecting to you or disconnecting you from you? And can you tell me where you feel disconnected from it? That would be where I would point if I had to say, if you look inside yourself and look at the connection to yourself, all of those things that happen to you, are you letting this dictate in this moment a connection or disconnect from yourself? Because you can run towards connection and a disconnect from yourself, and you will get exactly that. I've also been sexually abused, and although I shared with my TF, with my twin, I was afraid of telling her who did it to me, since they were individuals within my own family.
Mm-hmm. And then they go on to, and then Larissa said, I'll feel more about this and watch this replay, which is a great idea.
Good, yes.
That's awesome. What's your suggestion for having to continue a relationship with a family member who sexually abused you as a child, but they were an older child and didn't fully understand the repercussions? Can you put ages? Ages are going to help. Ages are going to really help because there's actually a real fine line when it comes there. So how old were you, and how old was the person who abused you? I really need to know that, because as an older person, if we're gonna talk about sexual abuse, there's a fine line, and adulthood and
Yeah.
and children. Um,
There's ages.
okay, okay. Now we are talking children, right?
Mhm.
So at 8 or 9 years old, um, she she was taught. You really have to look at it that she was taught this way. She didn't just learn how to do that on her own. Guaranteed it was happening to her. At 8 or 9 years old, you don't sexually touch someone or sexually assault someone. That is, you are taught how to do that and shown how to do that. You've learned that from somewhere. Um, that's that's reality that is hard to swallow, but it's the truth. Um, if you would have said 13, 14, 15, 16, right? The answer would still be the same, but right? There starts to become a difference in knowing the difference in right and wrong. At 8 and 9, it's hard to decipher what is right and what is wrong when it comes to sexuality because you don't understand it and you haven't reached that puberty line, right?
Mhm.
You're still a child physically, mentally,
Right.
right? When the puberty line starts hitting 11, 12, 13, right? Um, you start to understand it a little bit more. So, um, I want to say that this happened to me, but it didn't. It's the oddest thing. There was a family friend, and her she would spend the night, and her and I would mess around. I guess that's what you would call it. I don't know, but it was 8, 9. You know what I mean? We were 8, 9 years old, um, and it didn't feel like it was wrong because we didn't know, right? Until I got a little bit older, and I was like, well, that was kind of screwed up. You know what I mean? But I didn't know, right? We didn't. It was just touching and kissing and things like that. But I having to still spend time with them. Have you talked to her? Does she? Do you guys acknowledge that this happened? That this happened, or have you kept it as like an elephant in the room? Haven't said anything to each other? Have you talked about it? Like what the hell was that when we were kids, type of thing. Um, because if you haven't said anything, you're holding on to this, and we don't know that she's not holding on to this too. Like that was wrong,
Yeah.
and I feel like it was
But I
wrong.
sometimes feel better toward them when I know they're a changed person.
Hmm.
It was very confusing. She would bully me into it, so I felt
Uh,
forced,
uh,
but it was different than playing and exploring sexuality.
she was
Um,
being bullied into it.
yeah, somebody was making her keep it quiet, and this is
Yeah,
how it came out from her.
yeah,
Um, and I would say that if she's found a way to put that into healing, sometimes you block out certain things that you
hmm
actually did because of that.
hmm
And that may be the space where those things happen with you. I think having, sitting down, and if this is someone you love and this is someone you're connected to, just saying, hey, we need to probably clear some air because I think some things happened to you and I believe some things happened to me. And it could have been because of something that was happening to you. And whether her family acknowledged it, whether your family, whether anybody ever acknowledged it, or if it ever came out, if you clear it up between you two, you'll trust more in connection.
Yeah, but you also got to take into consideration that there could be a conversation of what the hell are you talking about? Are you crazy? This didn't happen. Knowing that you know that it did, but a lot of times people are going to go into denial, right?
And that could be the case.
And yeah, and it very well could happen, and it and
Do,
it
do you think the approach of coming from, hey, were you sexually abused as a child?
I don't know if they're in a position where they can talk like that,
And
or
that's the
you know
truth
what I
too.
mean.
You're right.
If they're what I mean, if they're close like that, or if it's just one of those things like if you know that I don't want to sound like a Friends episode because this is a serious conversation, but if you know that they know, then it's going to be a little bit easy or more to approach her about it. But if you're not sure and you're carrying fear of a rejection or denial, right? She's going to carry that, or they're going to carry that energy
Right.
with them. You know what I'm saying? So that it's kind of a shitty gray area of, is your soul telling you to ask questions? Is your soul telling you to confront? Do you feel the need to um, touch on it? Is that going to help you go into healing? Does that make sense?
She was kind of a big bully. She once cut my nails until they bled and locked me in a closet, etc. She loves me now, I think. But I wonder if she is a narcissist and if it's real. She had sociopathic tendencies. As a child, I just don't want to make her feel awkward or to ruin the relationship now.
It sounds to me like she had a really, really, really tough childhood. This kid did, right? Especially if she was being a bully and being sexually abusive. What the hell was going on in that home that she was such a mean child? And that's just, you know what I mean? That I'm not judging. It's just being a bully. But man, I'm feeling, normally when it comes to sexual abuse and somebody touching somebody appropriately, I feel anger, right? Right now, I'm almost feeling empathy. I don't feel empathy towards the situation or towards what is done to you. It's a very serious thing and it should never have happened. I feel like this person's really been through, when she was younger, at 8 or 9 years old, to be already be bullying and be sexually abusive. There was some shit going down in that house. And I don't want to take away from what happened to you. But I also want to, as we grow and we get older and we mature and we realize the difference in right and wrong, you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Then we do become changed people, and other people get resentful. You know what I mean? Like, you're living your life and your best life, but you did this to me and you weren't held accountable.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Mm. Yeah.
I've had to deal with that personally, where I've seen my abuser thrive in something, and I was just like, you got to be freaking kidding me. But it didn't end up that way.
She says she can't remember her childhood now, so maybe she was abused. Here's what we could tell you for sure. It is definitely connected to, okay, I'm going to help you see this in a different way. I don't know if it'll help or not. But if there's a block of not remembering your childhood, there's a spot there where she either felt safe or didn't. When you're on your own home, you should feel safe. If you get bullied in a safe place, you end up bullying outside of the safe place to stay. So you're safe. Yeah. It's almost as though if she felt safe with you, that would come from her before anything else would, because that's what she learned in connection. I don't think she'd learned it to repeat it, but it might have happened to the point to where she realized that she would go from someplace where if she started to feel safe, she knew that she better bully before she got bullied. Does that make sense? Because it's also a connection point for this kind of thing when it comes to abuse. You literally can't trust a safe environment. And if it's safe, you may disrupt what's safe, so you feel like you're in some form of control. That happens a lot. So I would tell you, if you come with, you come with that compassion, and the understanding that some major shit happened if they can't remember their childhood, that is a blackout period. That means that they don't want to go back. They don't want to face what it was. They still have residue from it. And it might have made them vulnerable at some point. And maybe they chose vulnerability over remembering what that was. 8, 9, it is hard to recall a lot of things that you go on, but you can always remember whether you had a safe childhood or you didn't. So I would probably say if they remember not having a safe childhood, that could be where that's pointing. Also, like to prevent themselves from being sexually abused, they would sexually abuse the other person so they feel like it's under their control. Absolutely. And it might not even show up that way. If she said that she was bullying a lot, the bullying is what got her into that
Yeah.
corner where she was by herself.
Mhm.
And then those things happen. But the bullying might have been a constant theme under the home.
Mhm.
It could have been, and in connection, they may look for that. And then when they finally get break free of it, they can heal.
Mhm.
But sometimes it's a tendency to bury before it
Yeah,
is to heal.
for
Because
sure.
you like we were talking about earlier, where we were talking about shame and guilt and all that
Mhm.
stuff that shows up over things that happen to you. As you look at the connection point, you want to follow the connection all the way back. That's the powerful thing about this connection. It's giving you an opportunity to see how everything is connected, even our own connection to our disconnect. Most of the time, it's a choice,
Mhm.
not one that's easy to make, not one that's easy to just kind of push away. You have to go through your disconnect to find where you were connected again. And sometimes it's a hard thing to do because not a lot of people are talking like that.
You're right.
So hopefully that gave you some insight and some clarity. Some things are so deeply connected. We actually look more to our present moment to see the same disconnect before we look for the connect.
Here it goes.
Yeah, she's really tired. It was a long weekend.
Yeah, it's been a
Any other
long week.
questions?
We are then going. Let's see. Oh,
Mhm.
it's been rough. Um, yeah, it's been a rough week. We put on we organized a charity or benefit fundraiser this past weekend with 40 plus reality stars from Big Brother, Survivor, The Amazing Race, shows like that all came into our town, and most of them stayed at our house, and we just turned the basement into a homeless camp with a bunch of air mattresses. And they came in, and we had a softball tournament and another sponsor party, and and then getting people to and from the airport. It was just a lot of work. We did it for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, so it was beneficial and it was awesome. But it has just wore me out.
Mm.
And I think we got a couple more little statements here. I wanna read before we go.
I also realized the thing that I kept connecting to at the beginning of my TF connection way back in 2011 was a self help tape. I guess
Hmm.
I attached to it since my parents weren't on board.
Oh.
Unfortunately, it was a self help tape where the self help guy said not to tell guys about being a survivor victim because then the guy will think of you less.
Oh.
Just remembered that. So I guess I have that tape still playing that my TF will reject and forget about me, even if I even mention
Mention
it.
it.
Wow, I kind of blocked that out. I guess I should maybe think about more about that.
Yeah, I think you've hit a root there,
The benefit
girlfriend.
sounds amazing. Um, I kind of understand that. In this self help tape, when you tell your story, do you tell your story as though you're still going through it, or do you tell your story as though you've changed from it and you've loved yourself through it? I think there's a different kind of energy that comes from that
Yeah.
because I think if you stand in the victim mode long enough, literally you stay in the victim mode enough not to let anybody love you.
Right.
Or if you're in a survivor mode, you're always going to be surviving those who loved you
Right.
because of how you got hurt by those who
Mm.
should have loved you.
Right.
So I could see why it could might have been said that way. So I would look at it not so much from that angle, but look at it from if I go to tell him, this man that I'm connected to, the things that happened to me in my life. Am I telling him to define me in this moment, or am I telling him to let him know how I found I shouldn't define me in all moments? There's going to be a different way that that lands in you, and it's going to be a different way it comes out of you when you communicate from it.
Yeah.
The benefit sounds amazing. It was, yeah, I
Oh.
feel that way about a lot of the info of twins that they can't be together, that it is so rare that it is impossible for it to happen to you, that there's more than one twin, etc. And that constantly plays in my head.
That happened to me. It's happened to me before. Um, being, I guess, what we want to call programmed, right? Um, and it brings me back to when I was programmed as a child in religion, and I was raised in a certain religion, and and I was led to believe, or the belief was instilled in me, certain things. If I do this, if I do that, think this is going to happen. If I do that, that's going to happen. If I do this, right? This is unforgivable, and this is going to. It's just it put so much fear in me as a child. There are still times that I find myself after I freed myself of that mind prison. Um, I find myself every now and then still thinking, "Oh, nope, I can't do that. I shouldn't do that," or I should I should not say that because it's really forbidden, and you shouldn't say that word, or you shouldn't say those two words put together, or you shouldn't um, do this, or you shouldn't do that. And sometimes I still carry, oh shoot, that's horrible, um, or I didn't pray right, or I didn't meditate right, or I didn't use the verbiage correctly. Um, that I find myself that I'm programmed. You
Mm,
know what I mean? To From the programming that I've had, right? With what Larissa was talking about with the programming of that self-help tape, right?
right.
And this person, with other programming and other teaching as well. And that's what plays in your head over and over again. It's the hardest thing in the world to break away from your own belief system,
Mm,
right?
yes.
It really is. When you know that your belief system isn't right, you feel it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's happened to me. It's happened to me quite a bit. So I completely understand that. And it just here's I was going to actually touch on that. How can you hear your truth? It's it's something I feel in me, right? I know that what I personally believe may not be what Lee personally believes, or may not be what, my other family members or even society even believes. It's just what I believe and what I feel is right, right? It's very simple, and it's just do good, and
Mm,
good comes to you, right?
yeah.
And I've taken that to an extreme, to the point where I also I don't want to use the word karma. I also believe in karma, but that also falls under you do good and good comes to you, right? If you do bad things, it opens up doors for bad things to come to you, to follow you, right? Yeah, you rob a bank, you got to go on the run. You're going to get caught. You're going to go to jail. Bad things happen in jail. There's a series of shit that's going to happen from this one decision, right? So then I just basically try to live my life with at least somewhat informed and decent decisions. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I know when I feel that I have to do something or make something right, that I have to do that,
Hmm.
or that is self condemnation that goes on in me.
Right.
Like if I walk out of the store and there happens to be a case of water at the bottom of the cart that we didn't pay for, right? I'm not taking it home until I make it right. It's $3.95. The world's going to say it's $3.95. They get all your money anyway. I can't live like that, because sometimes $3.95 makes a world of difference. And if it, come down to putting our account negative over $3.95, or giving the water back, I'm giving the water back. But I just want good things to happen to me. So I feel what feels good and right, and I feel what feels bad and right in my soul, not in my head, but in my soul. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like a limiting belief that became my friend that feels safe, and it's still my
Limiting
limiting
friend.
friend. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's exactly what it
Um,
feels like.
to answer the question about you can have more than one twin flame, Sherry created this program called Root Camp. Some of what we have been able to find and uncover has been not only mind blowing, but it has explained so much in so many deep ways. We actually had somebody who came to us, a female came to us and said, I have 6 twin flames. And when we started doing root camp, we asked her to tell us about her mother and father, and then we asked her to tell us about her siblings. And, lo and behold, I have 5 brothers. I'm the only girl. And she had a connection with each one of her brothers. And she literally believed the connection can happen 6 different ways. Then she read an article how you can have more than one twin flame, and it validated her belief system because that's what she grew up around. But she kept having this one particular pull to this one person who literally could encompass both the masculine and feminine in connection to her. And she realized then something magnificent, that because of all that other stuff, she went through all kinds of hell trying to figure out who she was connected to. When literally all along, if she would have looked inside and listened to what she felt instead of what she thought, and instead of what people kept validating in her thinking, that the person she was connected to was standing right in front of her that whole time. So don't go over listening to what everybody else is going to tell you. The answers to this connection, we can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, is in you, not the other person.
And that includes us.
Absolutely.
That includes
Larissa
us.
really pointed out something pretty strong.
Us.
Larissa pointed out something that was really strong in everything she said. She said, my parents weren't on board. So she's looking for her twin to match what her parents did.
Yeah.
And she doesn't realize that he's got to pay for that.
Right.
And the connection, she's got to make him. She's looking for him to reject in that space because she has never put that in the healing, nor has she gone to her parents and said, I needed you, and you're who I'm connected to, and I needed you to be with me, whether or not you believe me, whether or not these things happened to me, and I needed you to hold me in it. And they didn't. You could hear it clear as day. So she's expecting the same result with the person she's connected to, and she's going to come from an energy that gives her that validates why she shouldn't do it. We're saying don't do that, because if you felt that they rejected what had happened to you, or you felt that they abandoned what had happened to you, you're only looking for your twin to validate that that's the way it is. You're not validating yourself that that's what happened to you and loving yourself through it first. Then if you approach your parents with love and approach your twin with love, you will receive love. But if you're coming from that wound still, that's never been felt like it was honored and understood as your truth, and you were embraced in it, you're going to look for more validation of being damaged or being shunned, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's all connected. Trust us on that. Everything. We know this more now than we ever have. Ooh, 11:01.
We're going to sleep now before I fall asleep on camera.
Did you guys get a lot from this? If you did, we will see you next Thursday. And we're doing a retreat too. So yes, if you're interested
in the retreat, you still got time to fly.
They should get a discount if they come because they're Patreon.
Oh, I think so too. Yeah.
If you're interested in the retreat, send us an email. We'll give you a discount.
Yeah, the retreat's
$750,
but you got to fly to Ohio or drive. If you fly and you get to Ohio, to either Dayton or Cincinnati, we will get you to and from the airport. All your lodging and meals are taken care of. Guess where you get to stay? At Lee and Sherry's house. And we're going to do some really cool stuff. And we're going to go into lots of healing. And there's going to be mirror work. And it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So we are in between Dayton and Cincinnati. So either Dayton Airport or Cincinnati, Ohio Airport. And we will be there to get you. And we will bring you here. And we will kidnap you for a couple days. And willingly. It's not a threat. We will sit around the fire. We will have some great chats. We will talk. We will fellowship. We will go all the way deep. And there's only going to be very few couple out here. And it's going to be pretty cool. So if you're interested in doing that, then email us and we will get you a discount because you're Patreon members.
And if you thought this was deep, try this shit in person. We love you guys. Thank you for taking the time and coming and sitting with us tonight.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're in bed watching this. You guys have a good sleep and be connected to you.
Night.
Night.